Madison Zoe's life has been marked by immense hardship and unpredictability ever since her early years, following the tragic passing of her mother due to pneumonia when Madison was just 5 years old. She was left to live with her alcoholic stepfather for approximately 2 years, but unfortunately, he showed little concern for her well-being. It's challenging to imagine how Madison's life might have unfolded if it weren't for the caring neighbors who reported the situation to social services. The distressed young girl left a heart-wrenching impression on the social workers, who saw in her the vulnerability of a hunted animal ensnared in a trap. Meanwhile, Madison's stepfather was so inebriated that he couldn't even engage with the social workers when they inquired about the deplorable condition of the house. Instead, he dismissed them like bothersome flies and staggered off to another room. Regrettably, this irresponsible alcoholic's behavior sealed Madison's fate, compelling her to reside in an orphanage. Initially, adapting to this unfamiliar world was exceptionally challenging for the young girl. Nevertheless, with the skilled support of the caretakers, Madison began to feel like she was part of a large and welcoming family. Time flew by at the orphanage, and Madison barely noticed when she transitioned into young adulthood, bidding farewell to her beloved caregivers. Entering the adult world, Madison embarked on a quest to find her place. She secured a small house on the outskirts of the city from an orphan relief fund to address her housing needs. Sadly, the neighborhood she found herself in could scarcely be described as safe, but she had no other options and humbly accepted her circumstances. With her own home, Madison was finally in a position to search for employment. However, it proved to be a far more daunting task than the young woman, lacking experience and specific skills, had anticipated. Rejection became a familiar companion as she went from one office to another, seeking employment. Just when she was on the verge of despair, fortune intervened in the form of Donald Matthew, the owner of a gas station. "I'm actually looking for help, and a young woman as lovely as you would be perfect for the job," the gas station owner declared with a lecherous grin. Madison expressed her gratitude, feeling as if she were being scrutinized from head to toe. Donald Matthew, a middle-aged womanizer, never missed an opportunity with a woman and took pride in breaking more than a few hearts. When he saw Madison in his office, he already knew the interview was merely a formality, and he was determined to hire the beautiful woman. His motivations were rooted in his immoral intentions. Madison, however, was blissfully unaware of the owner's ulterior motives and was thrilled to secure the job at the gas station. To her, it felt like the best place on earth. 2 other young women already worked alongside Madison, including Kinsley, who manned the cashier. Nora and Madison had been close friends since their school days. This tight-knit bond meant that they often kept to themselves and were in no rush to include Madison in their inner circle. Furthermore, the 2 perpetually cheerful friends seemed to be involved in some dubious activities related to the gas station, which explained their consistent surplus of cash. One day, Kinsley, one of Madison's friends, mustered the courage to invite Madison to join in on their questionable scheme. However, Madison, being an orphan, declined the offer. "Well, that's too bad. Customers wouldn't even notice, and you could earn a few extra dollars. I'm sure you could use the money," Kinsley said, her disappointment evident. In response, Madison merely offered a shy smile and shrugged her shoulders. Madison had grown up without parents, and the idea of theft and deceiving customers made her uncomfortable. She was accustomed to a modest life and was content with her gas station salary. Unfortunately, she was unaware that Donald Matthew had set his sights on her for a long time, waiting for the right moment to pursue his desires. The unscrupulous gas station owner exploited every opportunity to get close to Madison, touching her hand, hugging her at the waist, and making inappropriate remarks. "Mr. Matthew, I'm sorry, but your advances make me uncomfortable." Madison finally voiced her objection after repeatedly escaping his unwelcome advances. "You can try to avoid me as much as you want, but I'll still get what I want. You didn't think you got this job for nothing, did you?" Donald responded with a smug tone, smoothing his hair. Kinsley and Nora responded with approving laughter, well aware of their boss's inclinations, and never standing up to him. Enduring this treatment, Madison struggled to hold back tears and had to summon great strength to maintain her composure until the end of her workday. When she finally shed her detested overalls and headed home, she noticed an unusual sound. Madison halted, searching for the source, and lifted an empty cardboard box, revealing a small kitten hidden underneath. "How did you get in there, little one?" Madison exclaimed, cradling the kitten in her arms. Realizing that the kitten had no shelter or food and was in need of care, she decided to take him home. After giving the tiny creature some milk to drink, Madison named him Thomas, in honor of a beloved cartoon character. Now, every day when Madison returned home from work, she was greeted by a fluffy bundle of joy who adored his owner above all else in the world. These moments brought immense happiness to Madison's heart, and even Donald's persistent harassment seemed less unbearable. The unrelenting womanizer stopped bothering Madison for about a month. Then, an event occurred that would alter the course of everything. The gas station had been experiencing a decline in profits in recent months, which infuriated Donald Matthew. If it continues like this, I might have to sell the gas station, so perhaps you should start looking for new jobs while there's still time, the owner suggested, mainly addressing his two favorite employees, Kinsley and Nora. Madison happened to overhear this conversation. She learned that the potential buyer of the gas station was a serious man who had amassed his wealth in the gold mines of Alaska. In truth, Madison didn't much care about the identity of the new boss, as she was a diligent and principled employee who could adapt to any boss and new conditions. Kinsley and Nora, on the other hand, were deeply concerned, realizing that they might have to abandon their illicit earnings from the unrecorded gas sales, a thought that filled them with dread. One day, during the busiest part of the workday, a worn-out Chevrolet pulled into the gas station. The vehicle was so ancient and dilapidated that it seemed more suited for a junkyard. An elderly, frail man was seated behind the wheel of this relic from the past, wearing tattered clothes and a battered baseball cap. Yet another beggar. Now he's just going to put in a few liters so he can make it back home, and that's it, Kinsley remarked sarcastically. However, it quickly became evident that the elderly man had no money, not even for a few liters of gas. "Miss, could you help me out, please? I forgot my wallet at home, and I don't have enough gas to return to get it," he asked sheepishly, his fingers fidgeting with his cap. "We know you're kind, you old beggars. You beg for food and change on the streets, and now you come here begging for gas. It's an easy way to live your life. Get out of here before I call the police," Nora responded brusquely. "Really? And why would you do that? I'm just asking for a loan. I need to get to the airport. Can you understand that? My son is arriving today, and I haven't seen him in many years. Here, I have a wedding ring you can take. I don't need it anymore. I've been a widower for 7 years," the old man said with a trembling voice, attempting to remove the ring from his finger. Seeing the old man's situation, Madison was filled with sympathy. She couldn't bear to witness him humiliate himself so much for a mere few liters of gas. "Stop it, sir. It's not necessary. I believe you, and I'll fill your tank. No need for the ring," Madison kindly reassured the elderly man as she began to unscrew the cap of the Chevrolet's gas tank. Meanwhile, Kinsley and Nora exchanged a knowing glance and hastily reached for the phone to report the incident to Donald Matthew. Madison, on the other hand, remained unperturbed by the fact that she had recorded the entire amount to be deducted from her own paycheck, after assisting the elderly man by filling his tank. But as soon as the old man departed the gas station, its owner stormed in, his face twisted with anger. "Who do you think you are, Madison? You might have forgotten, but I'm still the owner of this gas station, and I make the decisions here. I don't like it when someone gives away gas for free," Donald Matthew bellowed. "I understand, sir, but I made a note for this amount to be deducted from my paycheck," Madison quietly objected in response. The gas station owner simply pointed the disheartened employee to the door, informing her that she was terminated. Madison wiped away a tear and gathered her belongings. She couldn't have foreseen such a turn of events, and now she was deeply saddened and penalized for her kindness. The gas station employees were in for quite a surprise when the same Chevrolet returned about an hour later, this time with a young man in a business suit and sunglasses at the wheel. The elderly man was now seated in the passenger seat. Madison was holding her few personal items from the station, ready to leave when the elderly man hurried toward her. "Dear miss, here's the money. My name is Mark Stephen, and that fine gentleman wearing glasses is my son Oliver. Thank you very much for your help. If it weren't for you, I would have been late to pick up my son. But thanks to you, I made it on time," the elderly man explained, offering her the money. "Thank you very much, but if you don't mind, please give this money to the cashier, as I no longer work at this gas station. I've just been let go," Madison replied with an embarrassed smile. "What do you mean, fired? Who fired you? They had no right. I've already made the first payment for this gas station, and according to the agreement, I will become the rightful owner after the full payment," Mr. Stephen's son exclaimed, having overheard the entire conversation. "Mr. Stephen, is that you? How was I supposed to know this man was your father?" Donald Matthew attempted to justify himself, but Oliver was incensed, and nothing could dissuade him. The businessman promptly called his manager and instructed them to complete the final transfer, paying the entire amount for the gas station and becoming the rightful owner on the spot. Oliver then made an announcement that he was the new owner of the gas station. Upon hearing these words, Madison's face lit up with a radiant smile, making her appear even more beautiful. Donald Matthew felt incredibly uncomfortable and chose to leave. He understood perfectly well that he was no longer welcome at this gas station. In the following month, Kinsley and Nora quickly adapted to the new rules under their new owner. Subsequently, Kinsley and Nora abandoned their dishonest scheme, recognizing that their petty theft would no longer be tolerated. However, Madison found herself most astonished by the changes introduced by the new owner, who entrusted her with the responsibility of overseeing his entire chain of gas stations throughout the city. Furthermore, Oliver's father, Mark Stephen, frequently visits Madison and insists that nobody else fills his Chevrolet. He treats Madison like a daughter and secretly hopes that she and his son, Oliver, might begin dating. Madison, in response, consistently blushes deeply and offers shy smiles at his suggestions, giving Mr. Stephen reason to believe that his aspirations might eventually come to fruition.